You want to know what you're buying. There's risks in it. MicroStrategy is still risks, obviously, with everything. My concern is the copycats that aren't doing it at the same level or have, how many of these guys can offer preferred stock? So, we're tail end of a bull market right now. So I think a lot of people are going to get hurt.
In this market update, Willy Woo shares fresh insights on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. In a recent interview, he warned that certain high-risk companies could create serious challenges by the end of this cycle. He also discussed how MicroStrategy may be affected and gave his take on Bitcoin's current outlook. After a strong rally, Bitcoin has cooled and is now trading near $113,000 as investors take profits and await signals from the Federal Reserve on future policy. This pullback appears to be a standard correction, with traders closely watching key support levels. Meanwhile, MicroStrategy faces pressure as its stock dropped to a 4-month low, following the company's decision to halt new share sales for Bitcoin purchases. While the move aimed to ease dilution concerns, it raised new questions about how the firm will continue growing its already massive Bitcoin reserves. Despite these headwinds, MicroStrategy remains the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin, keeping its fate tightly linked to the crypto market. Overall, the market is in a consolidation phase, with both Bitcoin and MicroStrategy adjusting to near-term challenges while maintaining strong, long-term positions. While Bitcoin takes a small step back and MicroStrategy's stock faces short-term pressure, the bigger picture still looks positive for long-term holders. These kinds of fluctuations are normal in both crypto and tech-focused companies, and they often create opportunities for those who remain patient.
Say you wanted to get, 4 million of the Bitcoins. You're going to buy it on the open market and drive the price to infinity, and, Michael Saylor becomes probably the richest person alive, and therefore, let's say most powerful person alive, because it's common stock held. Or are you just going to do a share offer and effectively nationalize in a very free market fair way? You've got this big bag of, X million by then, Bitcoin. You haven't run up the price, and then everyone who's just sold their MicroStrategy stock, let's say, now has to buy back their Bitcoins, and then it runs up. I think that would be the smarter way to do it. But just thinking about the dynamics of how would you get a big bag of Bitcoin and then create dollars trading off it, or backed by it, and then how do you rug that into fiat? I think that's a path that's been done before. Strategy is probably the most robust of these companies, and you see in this cycle everyone's following the model, but it's not the exact model, and we have to be careful of the risks that are being taken. Strategy, originally when they were doing the convertible debt, was I think it was a 5-year out debt, and so I think MicroStrategy might have been close to liquidation in the last bear market had the debt not been pushed out 5 years. So I see a lot of these companies now have quite short dated debt, using the older model of convertibles, where Strategy went to 8 to 12 years, and now they're doing the preferred stock. You look at Metaplanet, and they're doing this sort of hedge fund play where there's a hedge fund. They're doing a back and forth to simulate a at the market offering, to effectively simulate the ATMs that MicroStrategy are doing, but they're taking big tranches of debt, 300 million at a time, and then selling that into the market to replenish, to then pay off the debt. If the market turns on that at the wrong time and they cannot do this market operation, you're going to get liquidated. And it's not 4-year debt, it's not 8-year debt, it's immediate debt. And so you really need to look at the copycats and look at the dangers in the debt structuring and liquidation risk. And my opinion of Metaplanet is that they are quite expert at timing the market. Maybe that's the game that they played. They absolutely bought the bottom wick of the last major dip and unloaded almost 300 million in that one buy. So maybe they're proving they can time the market, but that's what you're buying. You're buying a treasury that has opted to time the market, and they think they can unwind the debt at the top from the looks of how they've structured things. And there's a lot of these treasury companies, a lot of paperwork to work through. You want to know what you're buying. There's risks in it. MicroStrategy is the blue chip, very, very robust. Still risks, obviously, with everything. My concern is the copycats that aren't doing it at the same level or have, how many of these guys can offer preferred stock? What are their options? A lot of the latest vogue is to really start small and run up the leverage, get the yield right up and grow fast. So, we're tail end of a bull market right now. So I think a lot of people are going to get hurt, and we'll have massive MNAV compression. We're going to have liquidations of some of the weakest treasury companies, and we'll see who's going to survive and what's going to break over the next bear market. And I'm wondering about what the commentary from TradFi will be, as I look at those Bitcoin or crypto people, look what they did there and look what broke, and another cycle of jokes on us.
1 billion Bitcoin users by 2030. Do you see treasury companies and corporate adoption accelerate this pace?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not even sure if that projection will... It's very hard to count, what do you call an adopter?
Today, it's hard to say.
To your point, it's like if strategy gets included into the S&P 500, how many people own SPY index?
Exactly.
If de facto they have Bitcoin through...
You called it surrogate, right?
Yeah, so it's very blurry right now. We own a lot of assets. Everyone pretty much has exposures to the S&P 500. Even if it's in a pension fund and you're saving for retirement, you don't know what you're owning, but it's going to be the S&P 500 in there. That means Bitcoin's in there. So I think these metrics become a little bit more clouded. I was tracking self-custody and exchange custody. But it's growing at a decent clip. Almost 5% of the world population has exposure to this asset, excluding the sort of S&P 500 pattern. Yeah, and given that, it's still quite early. I think it's still quite early.
We're still early.
I think I'm thinking in terms of generational sort of times. We're 16 years into this asset, and it's only $2 trillion. It's probably got 100x to grow, and it's probably going to take decades to get there. I value long-term thinking, that's for sure. And we are trapped inside this fiat world in 1971 to now, and I think of that as a paperization of a liquidity crisis. And we had gold and silver as money for 6,000 years, and it spanned the agrarian age, the industrial age. We're in the digital age, and I think the fiat will blow up eventually. The only thing that's special about now is the whole world got rugged all at once. So we're all sort of debasing ourselves to oblivion, where when one kingdom debased, they blew up really quick because everyone ran to the gold-backed kingdoms. So this will blow up, and it's only a few decades away to mine asteroids, given the pace of that technology. So you have to secure the scarcity, the ledger, with something that grows with technology, and that's energy. And Bitcoin's had the 5% adoption. Very hard to catch something like that. For money, there's only two properties of money. One is it's accepted. Number two, it's secure and robust. And that was the scarcity element of gold. And all the other stuff was just people thinking about gold. It should be divisible. It should be durable. And that was us using atoms to secure the ledger. But that doesn't apply anymore.
MicroStrategy's cautious shift in strategy highlights that even major players must adapt, while Bitcoin's strong support levels show investor confidence remains intact. The key takeaway is simple. Short-term drops don't always signal trouble. They're part of the larger market cycle. Both Bitcoin and MicroStrategy continue to hold significant long-term value. If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more expert insights. Thanks for watching.